How about on the major kind of core updates front? I know one of the things that people, if there are things that keep publishers up at night, one of them might be a core update that
Mhm.
results in a huge traffic drop. How how common is that, and how correctable is that if you run into a situation where that happens?
Yeah, that's clearly a problem. And with the core updates, there's always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers. So we tend to, and Google understands this. And Google actually published a blog post back in July specifically on search traffic drops because they know that this kind of win-loss summation happens on a daily basis and it happens
Mhm.
more following core updates. So when we're talking about technical drops, I mean, especially with a core update or elsewhere, you usually want to think about five things when you're looking at or types of traffic drops. You either have a technical issue, which is a site level issue. Maybe you've received a manual action. That would be an example of a technical issue that you've made a mistake on. Google's
Mhm.
letting you know by means of a manual action in your search console. We fix the manual action. We fix the technical issue, and your traffic usually pops right back.
Mhm.
Then we have technical issues that are on the page level, and these page levels are usually the result of algorithmic changes or
Mhm.
disruption. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a site level and a page level penalty. Usually, site level penalties, again, are manual actions. Page level penalties technically tend to be algorithmically driven, where you've done something at the page level across many pages and it's resulted in a drop in traffic. And
Mm.
that could be things like a refinement, or, well, no, it'd be like you using incorrect schema,
Sure.
missizing, missizing images. It could be the fact that you accidentally blocked Google from crawling your site.
Yep.
Maybe you made some mistakes in your robots.txt file. They're technical issues. Maybe you have a very poor host.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you did a site migration or a redesign, and your designer forgot to take off the disavow robot file, and you can't
Yeah.
figure out why your homepage isn't ranking.
Uh-huh.
There's a plethora of issues, and then we get into other things. You've got seasonality;
And
those are
and the point
seasonal
with
based
those real
behavior.
quick is that
Mhm.
those won't be reported on by Google. So they're a little bit harder to find if you have like a essentially
Yeah,
something in your on your site that says directly to Google, don't show my site on Google. And the example of when you'd use that is if you're going through a redesign or an update, you maybe have your kind of staging site, you could potentially push that code over.
yeah,
We've seen that happen where suddenly
a
you have a
lot.
drop. Google's not reporting on it because it's not
Mhm.
considered a manual action. So then you have to sift through it and say like, well, what's happening here? So these are things that Google won't necessarily tell you, but are still technically issues that need to be corrected.
Yeah, whenever you do a redesign or you're changing or moving to a new platform, technical issues, any kind of ranking drops are usually the result of some kind of a technical issue. Either Google has to recrawl the site because you've
Uh-huh.
changed all your structure and they have to relearn how everything is working now,
Mhm.
or your site designer made a mistake, which is
Sure.
extremely common in the food blogging niche. Unfortunately, I've worked with them all. They'll either forget to include your homepage title and description. Maybe they forgot to pull over all the robots information where they're supposed to disavow certain things. It's various things. Maybe they've
Sure.
accidentally added chain redirects on the server that have diluted the flow of page rank through the site. It's a long list. It's a litany of issues, and so
Uh-huh.
you want to troubleshoot all that. Then you move down to the other two issues, and the other two issues with regards to types of traffic drops. The next one is seasonality. We call
Uh-huh.
that a seasonal based behavior or a change in search behavior. Now, we've seen a lot of that with the core updates because Google has refined search intent. And by
Mm.
refining search intent, I mean that we talked about the vegan recipes.
Uh-huh.
Google is no longer listing individual recipes in many cases. When you type in vegan recipes, they're listing lists of recipes. And we've seen that across a lot of other queries as well, where
Mm.
there's just a change in the intent match of that
Yeah.
query, and you're just not a good match for that email. And we see that
Uh-huh.
a lot. As someone will say, "Man, Casey, I dropped a lot for this recipe," and I'll go in and I'll take a. And this is a good thing about Search Console, folks, is you can go in, click on the URL, and sort by search query, and you can see all the search terms you're
Uh-huh.
ranking for that query, and then we can scroll down and see, well, what have the drops? Maybe I'm doing a 7-day comparison of before the core update to now, and I can kind of see, okay, well,
Yep.
these terms dropped. Well, gosh, these terms really don't match
Right.
what what this article is about. So that's clearly maybe Google just stopped, refine the user intent on this a little bit, and
Uh-huh.
that's why you've lost matching on this. Other times, it's just it's not a change in search intent; it's a change in seasonality. So we have a lot of bloggers who fish fry is a great example. Fish
Sure.
fries tend to be incredibly important, popular in the spring.
Yeah, yeah.
April, May, June.
Yep.
They literally fall off a cliff after July.
Uh-huh.
Fall off a cliff. So if you're ranking really well for fish fry, a blogger came to me, was doing incredibly well for catfish fish fry, and we go in and we take a look. I'm like, well, here's the
Uh-huh.
you were doing
Yeah.
5,900 searches a month query wise for April, May, June, and look at this, it's 2,100
Right.
July, August, and still dropping. That's an example of a change in seasonality. You're
Uh-huh.
still ranking where you were
Right, right.
now
Just
as you
people are
were
searching
ranking,
less.
but people are searching less. And
Sure.
this is also why we've had such big drops across the board because of all this COVID nonsense, is that
Yeah.
there's been a change in search behavior. Less people are indoors now as opposed to where they were last year when a lot of people were
Uh-huh.
on lockdown. And so we're trying to replace that traffic with new content or
Yep.
expanded keyword lists and the like, and that's
Yep.
very important for users.
That makes sense. Can you speak holistically to the change that you've seen over the, 20 months or whatever it is?
Mhm.
What a bizarre period of time. If search itself isn't weird, it's made especially weird in a world of COVID. What
Yeah.
have you seen in terms of the general arc, like the roller coaster up and down? Is it possible to speak kind of broadly speaking in terms of where you see search related to food?
Well, yeah, I tell you, it's really starting to come back. There is
Uh-huh.
a lot of the bigger bloggers, specifically, relatively immune. A lot of the bloggers have the same or near level traffics that they had last year. I think a lot of it might just be an increase in the fact that they've got better relevancy matching over the last year or so, because
Sure.
traffic levels do seem to be down overall when you compare, October 1st now to October 1st last year. There was
Uh-huh.
a lot more traffic. I, it's going to be interesting to see how Thanksgiving and Christmas
Yeah.
shake out, because we're not going to be doing, regardless of what the CDC says, there will not be a lot of virtual Thanksgivings this year. There
Yeah.
will
Right.
be a significant amount of travel. There will be a significant
Yep.
amount of people going and having in person Thanksgivings this year.
Yep.
And that is going to cause an increase, a paradigm increase in those seasonal related queries and
Hmm.
searches. We'll just kind of have to see how it shakes out. But
Yeah.
we always want to take a look and do a year over year comparison. I want to see, okay, what are the top 10 recipes that you had last October? Let's compare them what's showing up right now and see if we can see any clear patterns. And if we notice that there's one that's significantly lower, first thing I'm going to look at is, okay, well, is this a change in search intent, or is there
Yep.
something going on with this page that's caused such a drop in queries? And then we'll go in and make refinements and go from there.
Sure. That's great.